Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the studio. I'm glad you're here. Happy Monday. Happy day after the art show. My video is coming to you just a little bit later than usual because I slept in. So I don't have my hair done. I don't have my makeup on. It doesn't matter though, because it's Monday morning after an art show and it was an incredible show, an incredible weekend. I always tell people, I'm like, it's kind of like the highlight, it's anybody who has kids that um, they play a sport or they put on a production or a show or any kind of public competition. Like it's their chance to shine. And so I feel like our art show is so important because it gives a chance for our creative visual artists to shine and to be in the spotlight. So I do love our art show. I am really glad that it's only once a year. So uh, that said, we're back to Monday morning and it is week 4 of April. So we've got to wrap up all these fiber month project or fiber arts projects. We got to talk about what's coming at the end of the school year because we do still have the month of May. So I think we've got 5 weeks left, you guys, in classes until we break for the summer, and then we're back again in the fall. So let's go over just a couple things at the beginning of the video in our intro. I want to make sure everybody knows it is the 4th week of April. If you're in a preschool class, you don't have class this week. If you're in a creative explorations class, you don't have class this week because those 2 classes meet only 3 times a month. So you've already had your 3 meetings. You're off this week. Now, my Monday and Tuesday people, if you look at a calendar for the month of April, you'll notice there are 5 Mondays and 5 Tuesdays. So if you're in a Monday or Tuesday preschool class, you're going to have 2 weeks off. And we'll talk about that again when we get to the section that has preschool classes. If you're in a drawing or a multimedia class, even though next Monday and next Tuesday are a 5th day, we're going to go ahead and start our May classes next week. That's because of Memorial Day. Normally we wouldn't do that, but with the way the calendar works out, if we don't start May next week, we don't finish before Memorial Day. And then everybody has to come back after Memorial Day, and nobody wants to do that. So we'll start May classes next week for my drawing and my multimedia students. And preschool kids, you guys are going to have the week off if you're a Monday or Tuesday class. Okay. And just a reminder, you can always find your schedule in your Sawyer account. All right, let's go ahead and talk about those preschool classes. This last week, you guys, we read Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, and we wrapped up our April month with all of our fibers and our natural elements. We did an arrival activity here with sticks where we colored on them with wet chalk. If you've never done that, you totally should. So we just soaked sidewalk chalk in water, and that way when you pick up that big hunk of sidewalk chalk, it just kind of melts into butter all over that stick. So we colored our sticks with the chalk and then we wrapped them with different fibers. Oh, real quick on the preschool classes before we flip around. As a reminder, Monday and Tuesday classes, you guys will have 2 weeks off. So we have this week off and next week off. Monday and Tuesday people in a preschool class, this week off, next week off. If you're in a Thursday class or Friday class, this week off. We'll see you next week because it'll be May. Okay. And we'll start our May month. We have really great lineup of books for the month of May. It is sculpture. So we're back to building some things out of clay. We're going to use some wire because that's what the multimedia kids are using. And we're going to read one of our favorite books, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. All right, here we go. Multimedia classes. So K1, second, third, K thirds have been sewing. And so I brought a couple of their projects. I just realized this one has a lot of green in it. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. They've been sewing these plushy monsters, right? So our first week, we got the patterns made. Our second week, we learned how to sew. Our third week, we started sewing. And now in our 4th week, it's just all finishing. So for a lot of our kids, they did a good job getting a good chunk of their sewing done. If I flip to the back, you can kind of see this one's all stitched around. We used a running stitch instead of a whip stitch. This is the front. They left a little pocket open right here so we can stuff him and then sew him closed. So that one will be done. These are all designed by the artist. We did give them some shapes that they had to build with in order to make their patterns. So there was limitations to what they can do just because we didn't want anything too crazy to sew around. But they designed all of their creatures. So like I said, this guy's green, but if I kind of turn him to the side, you can see he won't disappear. But all that stitching, look how good that is. And again, he's got He's got an opening where we can fill him with stuffing and then they'll get him sewn closed. So it looks like I went through Liberty's cubbies this morning. It looks like they are in great shape to finish this week. Your plushies should go home this week. So if you're in a class that's doing this project, these should go home this week. If they don't, it's okay. It just may mean maybe you missed a class. Maybe your kid had to do a lot of unsewing. That'll slow you down if you have to unsew something. Or maybe they were just a little bit slower at working. Maybe their stitches were smaller. Who knows? If you need more time, that's what the makeup sessions are for. Please sign up, come in and get that project done. If that doesn't work, you can reach out to me and we'll talk about, alternative times that we're here and somebody can support them to finish up that project. Okay. All right. So for our 4th and 5th and our homeschool classes, they've been doing embroidery. These have a ton of green in them because they're all plants. So I'm going to try to show you some. We'll have to kind of turn them at an angle. But remember they did the watercolor backgrounds to dye their fabric. They did the hot glue to give them something to sew around, kind of in a puffy paint. And then they've been stitching on top of them. I'm going to move this close and see if it works. Isn't that great? Now, some of our kids are this far, right? They got like 2 flowers left and we're totally going to finish this week. Some of our kids are like not quite so far along. You can see we got all these flowers and then things in the background that they still have to do. It might just be because they bit off more than they can chew with the hot glue step, right? I can draw with hot glue more than I want to sew. So just so you know, like depending on what their design was and how fast they were with embroidery, some of them are ready to finish this week and some of them still have, oops, that's got a lot of green on it, have a long way to go. So we've got kind of a wide range. This is probably the class, like this project. So not just this class, because this is actually from a couple classes. But that project probably, we've had our staff meeting on Friday and talked about it, has the widest range of people that are like, yeah, no problem, we'll finish next week. And you probably still need 2 more hours. So like there's a lot of a swing there. So if your kid comes home with their project, they're good to go. If they don't come home, or maybe they told you last week, hey, my teacher said I should probably come in for a makeup, they're probably right. If you doubt that, or if you want to talk to me about it, you can send me a message and I will get in touch with their teacher or go find their project in their cubby and take a look at it and I'll let you know. But we would love to have them come in and do some more focused work time during those makeup hours. That's on Wednesday nights in Liberty or Friday nights in Flatwoods. And I want you guys to know, like, I'm here every Wednesday night in Liberty pretty much. And we have kids that come in just to work on additional projects or just to work on like a more detailed step in their project or just to redo a drawing lesson. And they're totally welcome. This is their art studio. So we would love to have them come in, just make a reservation so we know you're coming and we can staff appropriately. We can have your project ready. When it asks for your missed class date, I believe it's a calendar. So you can just select like the makeup date. It's fine. And then in the comment section, you can write additional time on such and such, additional time on their April project, whatever, or whatever they told you. And if I'm confused, I'll reach out to you. It's okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to check my notes and make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. So our 4th and our 5th and our homeschool, you guys, their goal is to finish. That's it. They just need to finish. We're going to take these guys. They're going to finish their embroidery, all this extra fabric. We're going to stitch around it and then it all gets folded back into the frame. And then it stays on the hoop. We're not going to take it off the hoop. If there's time, they can make a little like beaded hanger to go on it. 6th, 7th, 8th, 12th have been making felted butterflies. And similar to our 4th and 5th, we have a wide range of people that are like, yeah, they'll finish next week. And then some that you're like, ooh, you might need more time. So they've been making felt. And if you remember, I showed you the wool roving, kind of looks like cotton candy. And then as you stab it over and over and over again, it tangles up into felt, like what we know of as felt. You can also make 3D forms out of it. So this, look at this, you guys, this is amazing. This is the little caterpillar body. And then the butterfly wings that this artist has been creating. See, it's got designs started on it. They will attach to this body and then they'll get like wire legs. Hang on, I've got another one over here. We have some that built with white felt as their base and some that built with black felt as their base. I didn't grab any of the black ones, you guys, because they're harder to see on the camera. So, but we have some really great ones back there that are kind of a darker. I love how graphic that is. So we've got 2 wings, right? And then in the middle of the wing, we'll go this cute little caterpillar body. Okay, so we've got a felted sculpture. They just have work time. So if you're in a middle school or high school class, it is all like, come in, grab your foam base, grab your barbed needle, grab your project, grab your felt. Let's get to work. So they could hopefully have almost a full hour of work time. Anybody that that gets through with the felting, the next step is, if they want, is to wire up antennas and legs. If they just want to have just the butterfly, that's fine too. Want to make sure that I didn't say, like, forget anything. So check my notes. I think that's it. All the multimedia classes, your projects will start like next week for May. So if they don't bring their butterfly home, I should flip back to the screen. So if they don't bring their butterfly home, then like they'll need more time to come in outside of class, because next week starts all the May projects. That's when we'll start all the metals work. Again, if you can't make it to the Wednesday makeups, or Friday makeups, because that just doesn't work for your schedule, that's okay. Talk to me or talk to your teacher, and we'll get you coordinated. There are other pockets of time around in our schedule where especially your middle schooler and your high school can come in and work. It's fine. They're such responsible artists. We would love to have them in the studio. All right, no creative explorations classes this week. So if you are in this class, it's a Wednesday class in Liberty, a Friday class in Flatwoods. If you're in this class, don't come to class this week, because there are no classes. We start May classes next week. Creative explorations, I asked the staff, because I am never in the studio, hardly ever. I think there was one time. I'm never in the studio for creative explorations. That's my night that I don't have it. But I asked them, I was like, what's the most popular thing in fiber arts? And hands down, both studios said pom-pom makers. So if you need a gift idea for your kids, pom-pom makers and a skein of yarn. Drawing classes. All right, let's rock these out. So Drawing 101, in April, we've been repeating lessons, which they've seen earlier in the year. We repeated, so a lot of our portraiture lessons last week, they got to break out that Sumi ink and the glass pens. When we did this lesson in September, we didn't use glass pens because we didn't know your kids. So we used straw nibs. But this year, for this session, we used the glass pens, and everybody loves them. So they do a great job with them. They were fantastic. And we practiced drawing portraits from imagination. It uses different drawing, like brain muscles, when I have to draw something from recall than when I can look at a picture. And I say that like that's a negative thing, because that's my preference. I don't do well for my brain. A lot of our kids do a fantastic job drawing from recall or drawing from their imaginations. I love drawing from observation, and I always have. So, so this gives our kids who struggle with observation or don't love observation a chance to really excel, because, like I said, totally different muscles to draw from your imagination. So they got to draw portraits and people using the Sumi ink, which was super fun. This week is a repeat of our charcoal reduction lesson. So it's a reductive drawing technique where you cover the whole paper with charcoal. Super messy. Wear old clothes to the studio this week. They'll cover the whole paper with charcoal and then draw with an eraser. When we did this lesson in the fall, we did it as bats because it was October and it was spooky and Halloweeny. But this month, we're doing just nocturnal animals. So we've kind of broadened the subject. So we've got a bunch of photos of different nocturnal animals for them to reference, and then they will draw using their eraser on a charcoal sheet of paper. So it should be a fun one. Drawing 102 classes, it's advanced realistic. So they last week did a benchmark lesson where they did portrait from observation from life, right? Because we usually draw from observation in 2 ways, either from photograph or from life. This one was from life, so it's a subject right in front of us. We looked in a mirror and we drew ourselves. We also probably looked at a partner if we had more time. They did a great job. I did not go grab journals, you guys. The back classroom's still a mess from art show stuff, so I didn't want to get in there and take out journals too and make it even more of a mess. But they did that lesson last week, and then this week is the wild card. So if you remember, if you've watched the videos before, you're gonna be like, you sound like a broken record, Allison, but you'd be surprised. Like some people, this is maybe the first video they're jumping into. So I want to make sure I tell you the wild card lesson, the wild card week, usually happens on the 4th week of the month. And it's a chance for the kids to finish a drawing. Because a lot of times in the 90 minutes of class, by the time we get through the lesson and then the skills and then the like they don't actually finish anything. So feedback we got from our artists a year or two ago was, I wish I had time to finish this drawing or that drawing. So the wild card week is like a kid's choice, like choose your own adventure. So they can finish a drawing. They can go back to their book and be like, I really loved my fruit still life, or I really love, it doesn't have to even be this month. They can go back to February and find a lesson that they really love, and they can work on finishing that drawing. They can also redo a lesson. So if they're like, I struggled with values on the 3D forms and I'd like to redo that again. And so we will set up whatever they want to work on. So the teacher will ask them, what's your wild card? Like, what are you going to work on? They can also bring in something from home that they've been working on, or something that they just want to explore and they want to use class time to do it. And they want to use instructor support and community review. So this is their class to do that. It's not a party. It's not a free time. This is their chance to just kind of choose their own adventure. So that's a wild card week for them. Drawing 102, comic and cartoon. So that's realistic. Drawing 102, comic and cartoon. Last week also did portraits. They did them not in a realistic style. They had to choose their signature style, whether that's anime, whether that's more cartoony, whether that's comic style, whatever their style was, they were to draw themselves as one of their characters. Then they are also in a wild card week. So everything I said about the realistic kids apply. Plus, Drawing 102 have blank comic books that they've been working on kind of throughout this semester and slowly working together. In the month of May, that's their sole project, is to tackle that book. But if they would like to get a head start and work on that, they can certainly do that this week during wild card. All right, Drawing 103 for our classes. We've got comic drawing, anthropomorphic characters, and we've got realistic doing these botanic illustrations. So a lot of great stuff happening. I will take pictures and have them for you next week. Housekeeping stuff. All right, so if you have artwork from the art show, all the instructors last night broke down the show, divided it by studio, and then we took the art to the studio. So your art is safe and in the studios. Today, we will start going through that art and putting it into class cubbies. So that way we make sure that everybody's art gets back to them. So you can get your art in class. Now, if you're in a Monday class, depending on how the day goes, we may not get it all sorted today because there's just a lot of pieces. We'll see how it goes. Hindsight being what it is, I should have on the submission form put, what's your class? Because then when I printed the labels to put on your artwork, it would have your class name on it. Right now, as it is, we have to be like, so-and-so, what class are they in? And if we can't recall it, then we have to like look it up on Sawyer and then we'll get it in the right class cubby for you. So it's all there. It's just a little bit more information. So we'll get those all put into the class that they're in. So you guys can pick them up in class and take them home. If you miss them this week, they'll still be in the cubby next week. Okay. And then your ribbons will be with it too. So I have to go through and put like ribbons with everything because we ended up taking them all off when we took them down so they wouldn't get wrinkled. So I'll put ribbons with them and we'll write on the back of the ribbon like who it goes to and what it's for. I also have a list of winners. We had some questions about like, how do we know, like, where's the list of winners? Like who won first place in painting for this age group? So I have that list. I'll go ahead and get that published probably on social media this week so you can see that. We did have some people be like, well, how did this get first place and this didn't? When you look at things side by side, and please understand that there are a lot of levels. So there was like a preschool level, a K1 level, a second, third level, fourth, fifth level, and a sixth, seventh level, and a middle school, high school, like a 8th, 12th level. So all of those levels. So you might be comparing like a kindergartner to a 4th grader, right? The other thing is we had different categories. So there was a first, second, and third in every one of those categories. So if you entered illustrative drawing, there were probably 20 other entries in your category. If you entered 3D mixed media and sculpture, there were probably 2. So some of the categories were super competitive and some of them had, only 1 entry in them anyway. Or, so you just don't know who you were up against. So just understand that. So we'll publish the winners so you guys can see them. All right, and then May classes start next week. So just a reminder, if you're in preschool classes or creative exploration classes or preschool classes, let's start there. Come in May. So next week, Monday, Tuesday are not May, so don't come, right? If you're in drawing and multimedia classes, you have class next week, just like normal. Even though it's still April, we're going to start our May classes, okay? Again, you can always find your schedule. I'm not making it up. I promise. I'm not like all willy-nilly, like, let's just have class so we can finish. Like, no, it was all decided last summer when we wrote our class schedule. It was all decided when we wrote the class listings and when you registered. So like, I promise it was all determined ahead of time what your schedule was going to be. When you register for classes, you can find this information. It's by clicking a little calendar icon. It'll tell you when all your class dates are. So it's populated in your Sawyer account and you can find that there. So we will see you next week for Metals Week. And then end of school year info. Let me grab my notes so I get this right, okay? Because it's got dates involved in it. So our last class for the year, for like the whole school year, is Thursday, May 23rd. That's the Thursday before Memorial Day. There aren't any Friday classes. Thursday, May 23rd. We will be closed on Friday. And then the weekend is Memorial Day. We'll be closed on Memorial Day. Obviously, we're closed on Memorial Day weekend and Memorial Day. We are closed the entire week of Memorial Day. That is our staff vacation week. We all take it off. It is a paid vacation week for all of my staff. So they do not work. Done. I probably will, but they do not work. I'll still check emails and voicemails and all of that stuff. And I'll check on the buildings and things, but they don't work. We won't have makeups that week because it's a vacation day for them. Okay. Or a week, not a vacation day, a vacation week for them. They get it all off. The following week, we will have makeups. So for everybody that's following along, the makeups happen, and this is in the typed notes that go with this video that's emailed, okay? And I'll remind you. And it's also on the like makeup form. So if you go to make a makeup reservation, this information is on there. So there's makeups on the 22nd for Liberty, the 8th for Liberty, and the 10th for Flatwoods. Okay, so all of that is there for you to look at. And I'll remind you as we get into May, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to finish their projects. So if you were to miss like a week in May, we still need to offer makeups. Now, if you miss those days, that doesn't mean that like you can't finish your project ever, anytime. That just means that we're not going to staff that night with 2 instructors or 3 instructors and take reservations. That just means that we have to work one-on-one to get it done. All right. You guys, I think that's it. That's all I have for you. We've been through all of my notes. I'm going to go tackle the piles of stuff that are in the large classroom. Sure, it'll go faster than I think, hopefully. I'll drink a lot of coffee. It'll be good. If you need anything from me, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the studio.